All right, that's enough of that. Let's get the week started, shall we? Weekends go too fast. It's 49 out there right now. Look how dark it is, folks, and it's 6:30. Here's a look at First News. Fair, accurate, you get the damn truth. Israelis holding somber ceremonies today. It is 1 year since the deadliest attack in their country's history. The terrorist-led raid shattered Israel's sense of security and now has ignited wars on two fronts with no end in sight. Hamas, they marked their anniversary today by firing a barrage of rockets into Tel Aviv, trying to kill as many of the Jewish population as they can. Hezbollah's vowed to continue firing at the people despite the recent losses and the recent loss to the head of their organization. 100 hostages captured that day still have not been released. We don't know if they're dead or alive. Ceasefire efforts have ground to a halt. Americans still among those being held hostage and yet never get a mention from the Biden administration. Palestinian militants fired those barrage of drones and missiles into Israel today, but their shield is working well. The military said they will launch a wave of artillery and airstrikes now further into Hamas territory. They have vowed to once and for all do the work for the rest of the world and get rid of this terrorist organization. Joe Biden's administration said they've spent a record $17 billion on military aid to Israel since that war started. The problem is Israel isn't getting a lot of the weapons that Congress approved. The Biden administration is holding up weapons to Israel, trying to slow down their campaign in this election year because of the anti-Semitic support among the little liberal Nazi Democrats in this country. So they have withheld some of the real effective stuff that Israel could be using to wipe out Hamas. Now, on the other hand, they didn't give you the amount of billions of dollars that the Biden administration is spending in the Ukraine. That is over $100 billion. And the Biden administration and Kamala Harris, they're not calling for ceasefire negotiations against Putin and his armies. No. They want more funding for Zelensky and his effort to battle Russia. In the meantime, Russian forces attacked Ukraine again overnight with drones and missiles. A gas pipeline was also damaged and a warehouse set on fire. Vladimir Zelensky said that he will present now his victory plan to his leading generals on October the 12th. There will be no victory, folks, against Putin. The death toll from Hurricane Helene is now 227. People on the ground said that it is going to go much higher. Disappointment in our federal government, in Kamala Harris and the Biden administration's response. FEMA fumbled the ball. Government is restricting private people from helping and rescuing. They're confiscating goods that are being sent in to help the people because they want to disperse them under their jurisdiction. So many people are still trapped up in the mountains. 82nd Airborne Division, their choppers and helicopters are still sitting on the ground. They're all waiting for orders, haven't received any. So far, North Carolinians, according to FEMA, they said they've pumped in $27 million to that area. 83,000 people have registered for that $750 they're going to grease them with, but so far the checks haven't been doled out yet. It's a rough time. And then to make it worse, Hurricane Milton has now increased to a Category 2. Florida's gearing up. Milton's maximum winds 100 miles an hour as of today. It's west of Tampa, Florida, heading towards major Florida population centers again, including Tampa and Orlando. By the way, why did they go from H to M? You know, the last one was Hurricane Helene.
Well, I'm assuming the way they do it is that there were storms that came up, but they were smaller and got those letters.
I've been following it all week. There has been no other storms between Helene and Milton. I don't know why they jumped. Maybe those letters have been retired. You know how they retire names once a storm is so good. But this one heading to Florida again. By the way, a week after the hurricane overwhelmed the homeowners there on the golf course, they are still waiting for FEMA to get a lot of their programs up and running. What about flood insurance? Insurance professionals and experts have long warned that your home insurance does not cover flood damage. Private insurance companies, they don't carry the flood insurance. That's up to the National Flood Insurance Program run by FEMA. And FEMA's broke. They robbed that. So we'll see what happens to those poor folks down there that even had it and whether they'll be covered or not. Hours and days immediately after Election Day are likely to pose a great opportunity for anybody looking to mislead U.S. voters, according to tech executives. American adversaries, they said, will likely try to spread claims about voting irregularities, especially close to the election. Now, we may recall what happened in the last election, and we may recall what happened in the one before that when Hillary Clinton claimed that Russians were the ones that got into our election. And then we found out she actually paid for that story, $9 million. It was phony. Lord knows, folks, what's going to happen after this one. Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine has been awarded to Americans Victor Ambros and Gary Ruvkin for their discovery of the microRNA technology, tiny pieces of genetic material that allow genes to work at a cellular level. They win the prize. The announcements continue with the Physics Prize coming up today. Chemistry, the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, will be awarded on Wednesday, and the Nobel Prize for Literature will be awarded on Thursday. They even have their own award show, Mark. The Nobel Prize people. Chinatown activists, they're rallying. They're trying to block a $1.3 billion arena for the Philadelphia 76ers that won support from their mayor. The Sixers hope to get the city council's approval for that downtown site by the year's end. They want to open up that brand new arena by 2031. There's a lot of neighborhood groups there that oppose it, fearing gridlock. Chinatown has a lot of stores and people in that area. They said it would destroy their culture and their section of downtown Philly. The United Nations Weather Agency said 2023 was the driest year in 30 years for our world's rivers. The World Meteorological Association also said glaciers that feed rivers in many countries suffered the largest loss. I don't know how many glaciers feed our rivers. I think it's probably none. There's a few up by Glacier Park.
Right.
But anyway, they're worried about that. Ice melt can threaten long-term. So let me get this right. You said when the glaciers melted, they were going to flood us and we were all going to be underwater. Remember that?
Right.
And the glaciers have melted so far that now the rivers are the driest they've been. Well, you can't have it both ways.
Uh-huh.
No, you can't. You can't have it both ways. But they have it both ways. Their weather agency said 3.6 billion people will face inadequate access to water at least 1 month a year starting this year. Pope Francis, he named 21 new cardinals, all but one of the new cardinals under the age of 80. That increases the size of the College of Cardinals and really further cements his mark on the group. Elon Musk was in the news. He's been praising Donald Trump. He said, folks, Donald Trump's the only candidate that is going to preserve democracy in America. Stood along the president at a rally Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania that was unbelievable. They tried to blow his head off there, an assassination attempt in July. Trump went back. Musk was jumping in the air, making his way to the podium with his fist in the air. He's hosted Trump in conversations on X. He's agreed to lead the Government Efficiency Commission if Trump is elected. This is a businessman that is going to look at everything our government is doing and what we are spending money on and come out with an efficiency report.
Some people aren't going to like that a lot.
Some, all of them are not going to like it. Musk has also created a super political action committee supporting the nominee. Also, the threats now coming from all kinds of Democrats about our First Amendment and how we need oversight, how we need to regulate social media, all coming to play, folks, in this election. U.S. stocks closed higher Friday after a robust jobs report. I told you. Went over all that for you early this morning. Dow climbed 0.8 of a point. NASDAQ up 1.2 over the weekend. The Dow was up 341. Banks, cruise ship operators, and others companies whose profits can benefit from a stronger economy led the way. Treasury yields diminished. Oil prices were up. In fact, oil prices now are up to $75.64 a barrel after they say tensions eased in the Mideast. They haven't eased in the Middle East at all. Asian shares so far this morning, they're up as well. Japan's Nikkei was up nearly 2%. Hong Kong, Taiwan also up so far early this morning. And if you have a stained or a chipped tooth, you might be considering veneers, customized teeth coverings that can restore your smile without extensive dental work. Dentists are now warning that these pricey cosmetic enhancements are at the center of a worrisome online trend where unlicensed practitioners without proper training or supervision are offering low-cost veneers.
Yeah, but I got a deal.
That's right. I just went online and I looked up beautiful teeth for nothing. And gosh, really? What the hell's wrong with people? These self-described veneer techs promote themselves on Instagram, TikTok, and other, promising a full set of veneers for less than half of what dentists typically charge. It's misleading, according to health professionals, and it's illegal. All states require dental work. Now, I know those of you north of town, you're probably losing interest in all of this, but all states requiring dental work include veneers, and that has to be performed under the supervision of a licensed dentist. On Thursday, Georgia law enforcement officials arrested a guy by the name of Brandon Diller. He promoted himself to 158,000 Instagram followers as Atlanta's top veneer specialist and trainer. He practiced dentistry without a license and sold training and certificates that were worthless. They nailed him, but you got to be careful. Dentists usually charge between $1,000 and $2,000 per tooth. So you folks north of town, you're looking at $1,000 for your total dental work. So keep that in mind.
North of town, they call it a toothbrush for a reason.
Right. That's right. Be careful before you go in there. The American Dental Association has been stepping up their warnings about the risks to individuals out there from getting them from people who are unlicensed. So keep that in mind.
Okay, Farmer, I looked this up, and here's a couple answers to your question about naming the storms.
Oh, yeah.
Hurricanes and tropical storms are assigned names from 6 lists created by the National Hurricane Center and maintained by the World Meteorological Organization. Each list contains 21 names in alphabetical order.
21.
Alternating between male and female because they don't use Q, U, X, Y, or Z. And they rotate from year to year and alternate between male and female. And they do retire the names of storms that are especially bad.
There you go. So this one's a male.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if the storm identifies as a female? I mean, where it's just going to rip your head off and blow the roof off.
For no reason.
Exactly. I mean, you just have to know that's a female
I'll have
storm.
to do further research.
Thanks, Mark. Cat Country News Time is 6:45. We'll check your weather next.
In sports, I watched a little NASCAR yesterday from Talladega. Great big pileup at the end. A zillion cars got wrecked. And I heard him talk about the lawsuit that Michael Jordan's racing team has filed. It's a federal antitrust lawsuit against the Stock Car Series and the chairman, Jim France. Apparently, the France family kind of bullied all the other teams into signing something at the end of negotiations. And Michael's calling them bullies.
Huh.
And he doesn't think they ought to be able to do what they're doing. So 23 XI Racing, which is owned by Michael Jordan and veteran driver Denny Hamlin, and the smaller Front Row team refused to sign. That's not the big news. Here's the big news. They hired Jeffrey Kessler, a top antitrust attorney who has represented the players in all 4 major professional North American sports and helped push the NCAA toward an era of paid college athletes. The guys with the good lawyers usually win.
Pretty much. No rain this week, folks. Another dry week, and not good for those guys down there by Sheridan fighting that elk fire. 79 today, 81 tomorrow, 84 on Wednesday. So not good. We could use some precip. 49 out there this morning. Little chilly. 6:47, that's what's happening. Mark and Paul here together, kicking off the work week, and thanks for tuning into the Cat.